the people out there, I hope we are excited, and I'm hoping that a lot of people from LA go to that game, the first game. That's a short trip. We got to show up that game, man. We got to show up that LSU game. That's all I got. Right?
All right, John. Thanks for calling. Fight on. I'm going to tell you traditionally, historically. So here we go. Okay. If SC wins in Las Vegas, then you're talking maybe you pack the collie. But if SC were to lose and you're following up Utah State at home, our fans, I love all of you guys, but some of you suck. Some of you are about as fair weather could get. I don't think anyone's here tonight that's in that category. But I've been going to SC games for decades. And the quickest way to empty a Coliseum is to lose a game. Even if it's a hard-fought game against a solid team and a neutral site. Selling at the Coliseum for the Aggies is going to be hard enough as it is. If for whatever reason they were to lose, then you can almost guarantee that thing's going to be about a quarter empty. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Mark calling from Albuquerque again. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, Mark. I think we lost you earlier.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but it cut off or something. It said like send a text message or whatever. But it's all good. I got in. I just quick thing. I want to start with you, Tim, real quick, and then go from there. You know, my normal thing. I'm trying to make this as fast as possible because I don't want to keep you guys. But today, August 9th, 2024. Tim, what would you say? Is this an optimistic day, a good day, or a bad day for Conquest Live call-in show? You tell me which one you want to go with.
I think we just won the national championship.
I think that answers it for you.
Okay. So the reason I asked that is because this is probably the first time that I've called in, the first time you guys had the show where I didn't have to get on Tim's ass. Matt's ass about something that he said or something that, you know, I don't have some rebuttal where I want to get on him and poke him. So I want to give a shout out to Matt. This is the first weekend. So, hey, great call to start off with. Going from there. But real quick, I'm going to go through my usual rant. No problem, Matt. Hey, I love you guys. And just real quick, I want to go through my rant, and then I want to ask you guys some questions, kind of following up from last week's question. But the first thing is, hey, for the Trojan fans or the Trojan, you know, the people, you know, I talk about this every week, the Shohan attorneys and the Mookie Betts and all that. What are you guys going to say now about Kobe Pepe? I told you, there's, you know, I happen to, in my opinion, play for the greatest college football coach of all time. And he would always reference something that President Roosevelt said about going, you know, being in the arena, you know, some famous statement. I can't verbalize it word for word, but he would always say that. And I had talked about the fact that Kobe Pepe was recruited to a blue blood school scholarship, and he's going to be popping out the chute. When I mean popping out the chute, coming out of that Coliseum tunnel to represent USC. What do you guys have to say about that? I'm just over the top. Yeah, it's nice to have these big time, you know, NIL recruits and transfer portals and stuff like that. But there's something to say that for someone to have some longevity, who's worked, who wants to play, and he's going to get his time to shine. What do you guys have to say about that real quick?
I would just say it's pretty widely felt that he's having a great camp. So let's just hope this train keeps rolling in the right direction. You're on to something.
I mean, I'm not shy about talking about how much I love my Trojans, but I'm not shy about talking how much I love my Braves as well. I mean, if it's a Chris Steele, you know, if it's a Jude Wolf, you know, if they're a Bosco Brave, I'm going to be rooting for them. I root for all Trojans, but, you know, there's that little extra bit there, you know, when I know that they're a Trojan, you know, like Williams. I mean, it's just a little something extra. What is it about being challenged in life? You know, some people are motivated by different things. I think that Kobe Pepe was challenged. I think he took it as a challenge. I think Sean Nua kind of was there for him and said, hey, man, we'll do something about it. And I think he's risen to the occasion. And I love these stories. I hope he absolutely, for a million reasons, kills it, right? Not just selfish, but I mean for him as well. I mean, I think that if he can do what he's saying he's doing, if he could be that guy in the middle, that's going to make all the difference in the world in this defensive line. We have too many playmakers around that position that position can set up for this defense to be very successful. So, I'm glad Riley didn't mince words, did he? I mean, if you saw any of those quotes, it was like, whoa, I mean, holy crap, he said that. And maybe it was the motivation that Kobe Pepe needed. Maybe that conversation say, hey, maybe you don't belong here. And some people are absolutely, answer that bell. And clearly it sounds like he has. I'm excited. You should be excited.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I'm happy for the young man. I think it's time to, like I said, pop out the chute, come out the Coliseum tunnel, and represent. I'm just kudos for a young athlete to not have to be exposed to all the negativity out there in the fandom. That's like, hey, man, this is my opportunity. He could very much turn into. Last year we had the kid that ended up going to UCLA, kind of similar. And then he turns into a world beater because the scheme and, his work ethic or whatever. And then, he might turn into a first day draft pick, so, I'm not saying whatever it is, I'm just glad for the guy. But my other question, and then I go back to it, I asked you guys last week, and I kind of want to get a little bit more in depth. I know that you guys weren't able to see tackling or this or that in practice or pads or something like that. But I kind of want to go back and I kind of want to especially pick Matt's brain because Matt put me on something and that's why I'm saying I don't have a rant. I'm pissed at Matt because he should have put me on this like 7 months ago and maybe it's my fault. But going back to, let's just say Pete Carroll. When Pete Carroll, whatever happened between him and his offensive coordinator there, the guy that ended up going to Hawaii, I can't even think of his name now. It seemed like after when Lane Kiffin took over and Sark took over and offensive coordinating from 2004 moving forward, USC never was really the same offensively. I mean, they were still great, 2006, they went to the national title, but they were never hitting on the same as when as before, even with Lane Kiffin. So I kind of reference that back to the offensive line.
Don't tell Penn State that.
My questions were...
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah, they got spanked. Oh, yeah. And we got robbed on that. How could you lose one game? Now, of course, we lost to Oregon State on a Friday night, but how do you lose one game and continuously drop in the polls week after week after week after week after week? I can't even talk about that. That is ridiculous. After blowing out Ohio State, which everybody's talking about the Big Ten. I know it was at the Coliseum, but man, we put 42 on them, 42-14. but anyways, the point I'm kind of getting at is the offensive line. Is it a plug and play as in with the coaches, or is it that we feel that maybe Josh Henson maybe not have the actual wherewithal to develop the line? And the only reason I ask these questions is because, one, Harold Perkins, everybody's talking about LSU and matchups, but let's not forget, Harold Perkins is going to be a first round draft pick probably, coming off that edge. So I'm kind of concerned with that, even more so than the offensive tackles that they have. And that's depending on how LSU uses them. Last year, they just completely muffed it and had him playing middle linebacker and sit on the edge. But then two, going back, if you guys can answer, since you guys have seen a practice, I'm not talking about the hitting because I know that you guys haven't been able to see contact and all that, but the intensity. And then I go back to Pete Carroll's practices. Man, I used to be so amazed that I didn't see even Rocky Cito, I didn't see a single coach have a practice card at practice, but they ran practice seamlessly, so fast. They're doing special teams, and all of a sudden they come together and they're running bags. I'm like, wow.
So,
I've seen this, the breakneck speed. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I can answer that part of it. They weren't, we didn't see pads. We didn't see them hitting. We didn't get to see that. But I will tell you, with the two fields I talked about last week, everything's tight. There's a tight schedule. Everyone's moving, and they're able to set up, on both fields. So there's no downtime. They're kind of going back and forth. They looked like they were moving. And you could hear it. I mean, you could hear the attention to detail. You could hear it. The best quote all week. I mean, it's kind of not really about football. It's just about that Coach Ez was talking about the fact he loses his voice every single day. I mean, it's that kind of energy out there. They're not pussyfooting around. I would highly doubt they're not hitting in practice. And with the coaching staff that they have right now, I don't think that they're gonna. We'll see. I said earlier, be great if we could see. The access has been good. We're getting more and more. I think if nobody screws up, we're going to get to see a practice with full pads. So let's keep our fingers crossed that people can follow the guidelines they're giving us, and maybe they'll give us another practice, and maybe they'll be in full pads. We'll see. And then
got it.
You're talking about Norm Chow and those offenses. People talk about the offenses. I think they just stuck on 13-9 too much, because those offenses with John David Booty, and then Sanchez in his the 1 year he was starting, those offenses were lights out, man. I don't know. I mean, Sarkisian and in that Rose Bowl game, like we talked about with Penn State, those were some powerful offenses, even after the Leinart, Bush, and Lindale White years, for sure. So I don't know. I mean, Norm Chow was awesome, but there was. I really wish, one day, Matt, maybe you can tell me a bedtime story where what really happened between Pete and Norm. And there's so many rumors around that. I'd love to get someone to sit down and explain exactly how that went down. I've heard about I've heard two really good stories on how I think it could have gone down, but I want to know. We may never know exactly. I'm sure some people do know, but